Hi. Hello, world. I guess I have to wait for people to come on before I start speaking. Hi, everyone. Hello. Hi to everyone coming on. Thanks for joining. I think I can begin now. Shall I begin? Shall I wait for a few more people? I don't know what to do. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, for tuning in. So my name is Marlie. Actually, it's on my t-shirt. Can you see? It says it's a Marlie thing. You wouldn't understand. I don't know if you can see, but yeah. So my name is Marlie. I just wore a t-shirt with my name so that at all times you know what my name is. Let me just put my handle as well and pin it. K Shamaza. And then hi Dora. All right. Hi people. So my name is Marlie here, like here on my shirt, and I also pinned the comment so you can see that's the name of my handle and you can follow. Hi Boris. So my name is Marlie Keisha Maza. I have like 10 other names, but those are the 2 names that you need to know for now. Let's run with those. And we're gonna talk about money, honey. I have so many things that I want to talk about. If you guys have questions, please feel free to share questions as we talk. If you have questions, if you have comments and things you'd like to make, just drop your comments. I want this to be an interactive session. So I have things that I want to share, things that I want to say, but I like interactive sessions. Like I don't want to feel like it's a lecture and like I'm talking to myself. Cool? So, oh, it's not a good thing to cough in public in this COVID season, but I'm safe, guys. Yeah, so I am a speaker. I'm a motivational speaker, a public speaker. I do emceeing, I do motivational speaking, and yeah, things of that sort. I do public speaking classes. Some shirt, you like it? I got it in Nairobi though, but there's so many people here that do t-shirts. You'd be able to do it. It's just I haven't seen this gold whatever before, but you can get that shirt done. It's nice, isn't it? I like it too. Anyway, let's talk money, people. So what I was thinking about what I could share, like I feel like I have so many things to share, so many things I've learned, so many things, you know, that I'm trying out that are working for me, not working for me, and things like that. Like money is such like a wide topic. There's so many things that we can talk about, but I figured I put everything into, I organized the things, and I have 5 top things that I'll share on money that I've learned about money in the recent past or in my life in general, just things that I've learned. The first thing would be, I have learned the importance of having multiple income streams. Guys, it is so important to have more than one source of income in this life. And I think more than anything, this COVID season has taught us that, because many people have maybe a job, you have this one job, you've been doing well, you've been getting money, you've been living well, life is good, you know, you party after party all the time, you have money that you can, you know, buy things that are important, you can look after yourself, you can look after the home, you can do all these things. And then maybe now, because of this season, a few people have been laid off, so you're not working, or salaries have been cut, so you're not earning as much, and so it's a bit more difficult. So one of the most important things to learn about money, and the most important things that I think every young person should know about money, is that it's important to have more than one source of money. Because if you have only one source of money, you're basically putting, especially if it's like a salary, like you're putting the power of your wealth in someone else's hands. Hi, my dad has come to say hi, but he's running away. Come say hi. Wait, I thought I was lying. Wave to the people. My dad is saying hi, people. All right. So it's important. Please close the door. Yeah, thank you. It's important to have more than one source of income, because if you have only one source of income, you're basically putting the power of your wealth, especially if it's a salary that you have, if it's a formal job that you have. I'm not downgrading formal jobs. Please understand that and don't take offense. But I'm just saying, basically, you're putting the power of your wealth and the money that you have in someone else's hands, because right now in this season some people have been laid off because companies are not making money, so it's hard to have as many employees as they had, or you're no longer coming into the office every day, so it might be a bit difficult for someone to keep you and sustain you on the same money that you had and all of that. So salaries are being cut and things like that. So when you have one specific source of income, it doesn't matter how good it is. If you have one source of income, the thing about it is that you can't control certain things. You can make a plan for it and say, I make this amount of money, this is my budget, I'll save this much, I'll make this much, I'll invest this much, I'll do this much. But there's certain things that you can't control, like how the money comes in, when the money comes in. You can't control the economy. There are just so many things that you can't control. And so having more than one income stream sort of, it like balances you out a little bit more, like it sets you up better. So you cast your net wide so that you have, there's a saying that says don't put all your eggs in one basket. So it's that kind of thing, because when you have only one specific source of income, you've put all your eggs in one basket, and so if that egg is to break, if that basket is to fall, everything falls apart and you're screwed. Then what? And it's a very difficult conversation, I think, to hear in the beginning when you're hearing it for the first time. Because the first time I heard it, I was like, what does that even mean? Where am I going to get all this money from? How do I get all these income streams? Because your mind is fixed on that one particular thing that's bringing you money, especially if it's working for you. Like, that's where your mind is. Like, life is good, why bother? But there are so many things around you that you can do. I'm sure that so many of you find that there are things that you have. There may be skills you have, talents you have, gifts you have, opportunities you have, which you are probably underutilizing or undervaluing. Like, there's so many things I realized that I was doing for people for free, which I was adding, and yet I was adding so much value to people, and there were things that I could be doing for free. I do social media, and I do social media account management, and the number of people that I've helped to do accounts for free, you guys, I would be like Bill Gates by now. And it's not, I don't regret it, because it has built me to this point and I've learned a lot. But for how long will you keep doing things for free until you realize that you're going to have to pay until you realize how much value you have? Because the thing is, you're spending time, you're adding value, you're spending money, maybe because you're probably spending data, you're spending transport to get to that person. There's a certain amount of effort and energy and income that's going into these things that you're doing for people, and you're not translating it into value. So look around you, look at all the things that you're doing, all the things that you could possibly do, and find out there's so many things that you could do that you are already actually doing that you could turn into something else that could bring you extra money. I'll give you an example to put things into perspective. I do a number of things. So for example, I am a public speaker, right? So public speaking, the whole 9 yards. I do motivational speaking, I'm an MC, and I do public speaking classes. Now you imagine, in a season like this, there are people who have been in the business for a long time, so they're blessed enough to have their names recognized, so they've been able to get business in this season, online, hosting online webinars and seminars and online Zoom meetings and Facebook things and blah 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 and stuff like that, which is great, and that's a good opportunity for them. But because I'm not as established as so many other people who've been in the industry for a long time and have built a name for themselves, I've not had the opportunity of making money from MCing in this season. So if MCing was the only thing that I was doing and my only source of income and the only thing that I was relying on, it would mean that right now, as of the 2 months that we've been in lockdown, the 2 months that we've been in this season, I literally would have been making absolutely zero money. That's such a crazy fact, to think that for a whole 2 months I would have gone without making a single cent of money. And that's ridiculous, because the thing is, unfortunately, much as I don't have money coming in because the season is tight, I still have needs. I have to pay for electricity, water needs to be paid for, toiletries, groceries. There's so many needs and so many things that I have to do. So having channels through which you can constantly get money coming to you is important, because your needs, unfortunately, never stop. So whether your salary reduces, whether your income streams go down, whatever it is, your expenditure will still be there. It's a given, it's a must. Hi Eva. So you have to find as many ways as you can of bringing money in, because the world is finding as many ways as possible to take money out. There are always so many things that you have to do. Some of them will be luxuries. Some of them will be, is the network a bit funny? Some of them will be luxuries. Some of them will be important needs, but they're always expenses. Another thing that I do is I do still within public speaking, motivational speaking, which is something that I do in schools mostly. I go to schools, I speak to people, I talk about things and that kind of thing. Schools were closed from before lockdown. So now imagine that, not making money from before the lockdown even started, just because of this thing called COVID that no one ever saw coming. And like, wow, what a life to live. I can't even imagine. So it's important to be aware of, it's important to constantly have channels and awaken yourself to the idea of finding new ways of bringing in income. The other thing would be public speaking classes, which I do as well, which I've not been able to do because I run them at Victoria University, which is an institution which is closed, because we all know that schools have been closed. So now, what happens now? Do I just sit and cry about it and wish that I had an avenue? Which, by the way, also something that I'm learning in this time is that it's important for you to constantly find ways of paying attention to trends in society and how adapting to that. So for example, something that I'm now considering, which I hadn't considered before, was online classes. So when this situation, straightens out and the lockdown is completely lifted, I will continue my physical classes as normal, but I can run them concurrently with online classes. So it's also important to have a mind that is constantly adapting to change, as opposed to being opposed to it and being angry, because I could have chosen to say, oh man, now my public speaking classes, I was planning to have an intake in April, and now COVID has come and has messed me up. It's not a situation that I can control. I didn't bring COVID. I don't know when it's leaving. I don't know when the lockdown is ending, because we keep thinking it's going to end, then they add us another 2 weeks, then another 3 weeks, then another. It's out of my control. But once you learn to adapt, then situations no longer have that much of an effect on you, because you pay more attention to a solution than focusing on the problem. So my solution is online is working, so why not do online? So things like that are important to pay attention to and to keep in mind. The other thing that I do, aside from public speaking, is I have an online boutique. I sell clothes online. Now, I get my clothes from downtown. Arcades are closed. Malls are closed. All the places where we potentially buy clothes from are closed. So what does that mean? It means that for the last 2 months, unfortunately, I've not been able to deliver. I run the shop with someone else, and the two of us have not, my business partner and I have not been able to deliver the way that we were delivering before, because of circumstances that are out of our control. So the money that the business has been making is not the same as what it was before. And so if Fab Fash was my only source of income, it would be safe to say that between the time, not even the time the lockdown began, because that part of the business started becoming a bit slow even before, because people now were paying attention to things and were sort of scared to go into town. They were not supposed to be in crowded places and things like that. So from about that time, let's just say March still, to now we're in May, not making money. And yet between March and May, I've still had so many needs. I've had to buy groceries. What the wow. Groceries. I've had to buy groceries. I've had to buy toiletries. I've had things, like needs never stop. So you need to constantly find ways to keep bringing in money to yourself, because regardless of the situation that the world is in, that the economy is in, you will still constantly have needs. And so you must find ways of adapting. So the other thing that I do is social media account management. Now that has been doing well in this season, because as you all know, the online world is booming. Like, this is such a great time to be online and such a great time to have an online business and things like that. So in that area, life is good and I am happy. And interestingly, that's something that I ventured into last year. The online clothing store I've had for about 2 years, and I've been emceeing for 2 years as well, 2.5 years. So the social media work that I've been doing, I began it seriously last year, where I started charging people for it. And I can't stop thinking that if I had not started this extra income stream and I had continued to overlook it, or I had not learned this knowledge of the importance of having so many income streams and things like that, I really would be struggling in this season, and I would really probably, it's possible that I would be in a place where I've not really earned money, and like a place of struggle. And so I'm so grateful that these were lessons that I've learned, because at least I know. So out of the 3 things that I'm doing actively at the moment, I have that one thing. Whereas if you have one thing and that one thing falls apart, literally your whole life falls apart. So I can imagine a person who has probably 7 income streams. They have maybe 3 of them have crashed because of the season, but they have like 2 sources of income, so they still have money coming in. And here's the thing, it's also important to note that it takes time. It doesn't mean that today is the day that you decide that you're going to start charging people for things and now you're going to become a millionaire in a day, or business is going to start booming right away. It takes time for it to grow. It takes time for the thing to build up. But the important thing is that you learn the lessons now, and it's the importance of, there's something I call short sight versus long sight, where you could choose to do things thinking of just tomorrow and thinking of sorting yourself out for tomorrow and supporting yourself for tomorrow, or you could choose to have a longer term vision where you're thinking about yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. And for me, I think one of the important reasons why I think you need to have so many income streams is because there are so many seasons for things. So for example, there are, God has been good to me, he really has. So for example, there are businesses, first of all, that have seasons. Like a business like decorating, usually wedding season, like big wedding season, where decorators and interior designers and people like that make bank, is like in December. So in December, you have a season where like every weekend you have like 2 gigs and life is good. And then January comes and then people talk about how January is hard and January. But let me tell you, if you have more than one source of income, truthfully, it doesn't hurt as much, because you're not relying on that one source of income and then you've partied the whole of December and spent all your money. You can still afford to enjoy yourself and celebrate a good Christmas, knowing that you have like 4 sources of income at the end of the month or in the middle of the month or whatever it is. So those are things that are important to note as well. So businesses like decorators and things like that, they have seasons. Even MCing has seasons. There are seasons where there are so many events back to back to back to back to back, and there are seasons where you don't have as many events coming through and things like that. So if you have that one specific source of income, it means that you are being bitten hard in the times where that season is not thriving in your particular industry. That industry is not thriving in that season. So it's important to make sure that you have more than one source coming to you, so that you know that this season, MCing in this season is not really doing well, but I know that I have social media, which is more of an all-round season, so I'll be able to receive money from this one. But then I know that I also have public speaking classes, so every 3 months when I run the classes, I'll be able to get money, and every this, so you know that you have some sort of security and it's not based on one thing or one person. Hi Jeremy. Yes, someone has said thinking ahead, and it's kind of like a thinking ahead thing where you're looking out for yourself. You're not putting the power of your wealth in one person or one income stream or one specific thing. I think that that's important. And there are people who maybe are not as interested in business, so now they're thinking, why? I really like my job. I enjoy having, the comfort and security of a job and things like that and whatever. And there are people who are more business minded than others, and that's a real thing. But there's still so many other ways that you can have income coming in without you necessarily starting a business. There are treasury bills, for example, which is something that I invested in. You can do it through your banks, or there's a financial institution that I used. If you'd like more information, you can get in touch with me after my live and I'll let you know. And so what you do is you're kind of lending money to the government. So there's so many technical things which I'm not able to explain because I'm not a mathematician, but the long and short of it is that you put in a certain amount of money and it generates an interest, and there are weekly auctions or something. So I get like emails every Thursday saying technical details that I don't understand, but what happens is that money comes in, and so you can invest in treasury bills for 3 months, for 6 months, and for a year. So at the end of 3 months, they will let you know that this is how much you put in and this is the interest that was generated. Or at the end of 6 months, it will be that, and you have the option to reinvest the principal amount that you had put in, or to reinvest the whole amount, or to take it out. But so those are some of the ways. Or you can invest using investment clubs, because that way, at the end of the year, there's an interest that comes through, and then you're making money basically, because you put in this amount and you're getting more out of it. So those are some of the ways in which you can make money without necessarily having to start another business. The second thing that I've learned about money, which I think is very important, and it's such an important lesson, is saving. Guys, saving is so important, because it's just important. Here's the thing. My pastor likes to say that the thing about spending money is that all the money you spend belongs to someone else, and the money that you save is what belongs to you. Because if you receive a certain amount of money at the end of the month, the money that you give your landlord is the landlord's money, because you've received it, yes, but you have transferred the money to the landlord. So now it will be in the landlord's hands. It will no longer be yours. You will have the money that you pay for your yaka goes to umeme. The money that you pay for, do you understand the concept? Generally, all the expenses that you're making, that money is going to that specific person, to the supermarket, to the electricity company, to the landlord and the landlady, to the boutique where you buy your clothes, to the wherever. And the only money that you really have is the money that you save. So it's important to save. The other thing about saving is that you don't want to be working past your retirement. If you don't save, then you don't have money in your retirement. So you're going to be 75 and you're working in a job. It might be a job that pays you well, maybe, and you're earning let's say 20 million monthly or whatever, and that covers your costs, your basic costs and things like that, which is fine. But at age 75, you don't want to be working as hard as you had to work when you were 20. So these are the years when you're supposed to work, put in the work, do all the things that you have to do, so that by the time you're 75, you have investments working for you. You have money that you've put aside. You don't have to get up and work every single day, so that you're still able to survive and you're still able to make things for yourself. Saving, I'm building this muscle. It's not easy though. It's really not. But it gets easier with time. In the beginning, for me, saving was such a difficult thing. I would get money, then I would spend it. I would have a list. The moment I get money, I get excited. Then I write down a list of all the things that I want to do with the money. I'm like, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. Then after I've done all of that, then I remember, I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to save also. Then you start trying to save and whatever. And it's not a good discipline to do it that way. It's important for you to save before you get into expenses. So I'm going to take you through the thing that I do, the way that my spending, I will share that with you, my money principle, the way that I handle my money, the things that I do, the amount that I save, how much I put aside for spending, blah blah blah, and all of that, because it's important to pay attention to your money and to know how much is coming in and how much is going out. But saving is something that's so important. And let me tell you guys an interesting fact. Saving, before we get to the fact, it's important when you save, you should be saving for investments, not for a rainy day, because the thing about rainy days is that they will always come. So you should be saving so that when you have an idea of a business that you want to start, you don't have to break bank for it. You can go into your savings and say, okay, let me take out this amount so that I can put it into this, because you're investing it in something that's going to bring back more money for you, so you still have money to your name. It's important for you to save so that you constantly have something. So I don't know if you guys are all familiar with net worth and how you calculate it and all of that, but you calculate net worth by calculating your assets. It's the sum of all your assets minus the sum of your liabilities. And now when you're looking at your assets and you're counting your assets, savings are included. So you have things like paper assets, which is like NSSF and all of that. Then you have investment clubs, the amount of money that you have in investment clubs and stuff like that. You will have money in your different accounts, bank accounts and things like that, like all of those things. So the money that you have, the assets that you have, maybe livestock and things like that. So as you're building assets, those things all contribute towards your net worth. So if you're saving for a rainy day, it means that your net worth is constantly going to be fluctuating in a way that is not, as if not healthy, because like you have like a net worth of like 10 million today, and then this huge emergency comes up and then you have to use it. And here's the thing, that we all do have those situations where something comes up, you have an emergency, you have something you need to do and whatever. But let me tell you something, if I use up all my savings today because there is an emergency, and like it's really an emergency, guys, like I'm telling you that there's someone who is in hospital and they're sick and they're on ICU and the money is needed, so I remove the 10 million I have in savings and I pay for the hospital trip. Then the next month, for the hospital bill, then the next month the person gets sick again and my savings are finished. Then what? Do you see how you've reduced your net worth, reduced the amount of money that you have to your name, reduced all the effort that you've put into saving that 10 million, and still another emergency has come up? So it's important for you, if you had an emergency and you actually had 0 shillings, let's say you had no money in savings, you would find all ways to make sure that you pay that hospital bill. Either you would do a car wash, or you would reach out to people, or you'd walk on the streets asking people for money. You would find a way. So even when you have savings and an emergency arises, act like you don't have savings, imagine they're not there, and find other creative ways of getting that money. Because when you eat into your savings, you're messing up your net worth and you are eating into your retirement. So you're going to end up being that person who is 75 and you have to wake up at 5 a.m. so you can get to work by 7:30, leave the place at 6 p.m. when all you really want to do is hang with your grandchildren and check on your kids. Like, you can't be working forever and ever, you guys. Oh my God, work is such a good thing, an important thing to do, but it's most important to do it in your young ages and in your young time, because when you're older, you need to rest, you need to relax, you need to enjoy yourself, you need to live a little, and relax and not be exerting yourself as much as you do in your younger ages. So saving is something that's really important. And the thing about saving, though, also is that, what's the word? The thing about money in general is that the importance of saving is that it builds a discipline for you, so you know the importance of saving. Because you've saved the money, you value it a lot more, so you don't just spend it. Other birds distracting you sorry, but the importance of saving is that there's a value put into working for your money. There is a value put into saving. Is just an important muscle. It builds your discipline. I had lost my chain of thought, that's where I was. So saving builds your discipline, which is an important thing to have, because discipline is what sort of helps you gear more into that ladder of wealth, and discipline is what sort of gets you closer to wealth, I think, than money. And let me tell you guys something that you probably may not have thought about. Money doesn't make you rich. Did you know that? Money doesn't make you rich. Like, you'll find that there's a person who earns 10 million every month, and there's someone else who earns 2 million every month, but the person who earns 2 million is richer because they've been saving for the past maybe 5 years, and they have a total now of about 5 million shillings in their savings, and the person who earns 10 million earns that money and eats all of it. Or they save a very small amount and they have about 1 million shillings. Who is richer? The one who has 1 million shillings in savings, or the one who has 5 million shillings? Because the person who has 10 million shillings in their bank account that they have access to, they can choose to eat it tomorrow, and then they'll be back to zero. They'll be back on 5 million, or they'll be on 3 million, or they'll be on 1 million, and then they'll have nothing. The thing about wealth is that wealth is first of all, wealth is different from having money. Wealth is the amount of money you have, or how long you're able to survive on the money that you have without working. So that's the position you should work to be in. You should work to be in a position where if something were to happen and you were not working for 3 months or for 4 months, you'd still be able to have money, you'd still be able to sustain yourself. And money is just the paper thing that we used to transact all the time. But money is not the thing that makes you rich, because it's really about the disciplines that you have. Let me tell you a fact that really hurts me. Did you know that 98% of people in Uganda that receive their NSSF retirement funds, like when they retire and they receive their NSSF, 98% of the people finish all their money within 2 years of retirement. 98% of people, guys, that's a huge percentage. Only 2% of people that take out their money from NSSF actually stay with it longer than 2 years. 98% of people. So here is the thing, guys. The thing that makes you rich is the disciplines that you learn, and the earlier you learn them, the better it is for you. The thing that makes you rich is the disciplines. No one said that it will be easy, but if you really want a good life and you want to be at a place where you're comfortable, and you know that you won't easily be shaken by the economy, shaken by one income stream falling apart, or one this, that, and the other, you really need to work on the disciplines, because it's the disciplines that will get you to that place of wealth. Because that's why there are people that win the lottery. There are so many athletes earn millions of pounds weekly. The fact that there are athletes who run broke a few years after retirement is just a concept I don't understand. But here is the thing, guys. If your money is not growing, it's going. Oh, somebody called me. Put me on Google, man. That was dope. If your money is not growing, it's going. 98%, guys, of people that take out their money from NSSF use it and finish it within the first 2 years. So it's important for you to learn it's important for you to learn. 80% buy car, like they go all out. People start to buy cars, then they buy all the land in the world, then they buy. And the thing is, it's important for you to spend money on assets. Don't just spend money on liabilities. And many people don't know that a car is not an asset. Unless your car is making you money, it's not an asset. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a car if you can afford to. If you can afford to buy a car, please buy one and have it. But every time you get money, don't focus so much on buying assets. On liabilities, buying things that are going to get finished within a certain amount of time, or something that's not going to bring in money either now or in the future, or something that is going to, like, you buy food, you buy cars, you buy latest iPhone, you buy all the cutest clothes, you buy all the... Guys, I'm not saying that these things are not nice. I personally would want to buy like whatever car I want whenever I want, and I like buying a car is like not a bad idea. I wish I could have the latest iPhone. I buy clothes and all the time. I have a boutique, for crying out loud. I buy clothes because also I have to look nice to represent my business. But the point is that you need to be mindful of how you're spending money. If all the money you receive is going towards things that are not bringing in money for you, you're not setting yourself up for success financially for now and the near future. Do you understand? Does that make sense? So the thing is, people need to understand the importance of money discipline, because once you have that money discipline, that's the thing that will guarantee success. Knowledge really is power, but applying that knowledge is the most power, because it's possible that people know this thing. People probably hear, I'm sure those 98% of people from NSSF that hear about, know about saving, and they hear about it and they've been doing it, but application of that knowledge is the most important. I like that hashtag, don't touch NSSF money. I personally don't think that NSSF should be giving money to people who are not in retirement, because if you're not in retirement, you should have another form of savings. You should invent another income stream, another thing that can bring in money for you. Leave your retirement money for you're eating your children and your grandchildren, guys. I can't. What's the fine line between saving for my future and you only live once? The YOLO mantra. You only live once, it's true. But if you do it right, once is enough. And the right way to do it is by putting in place disciplines that are going to help you. Because here's the thing, you can play now and pay later, or pay now and play later. And I think playing later sounds like a better idea. I know right now there are so many things happening. There's always this thing that you want to go for, that thing that you want to go for, so many things happening, and you feel like there are more opportunities for you to, and it feels like maybe there are more opportunities for you to spend your money than there are for you to save and things like that. But the thing is, I want you, every time you're torn between saving money and spending it, or every time you know that you need to save money and you don't want to do it, or you're torn, or you feel like there's something more important, I want you to really close your eyes and envision yourself at age 80 waking up at 7 in the morning to go to the office to work so you can earn money. Don't you want to be 80 looking back and saying, oh, I remember those days when I was 20 something and I'd wake up at 5 in the morning to go to work? Let this be the time that you put in the work, so that when you're older, you can actually afford to relax, you can actually afford certain luxuries for yourself. Start the planning now, so that your future self has something to thank you for. The other thing that I think is important in terms of this money conversation is mind your money. It's important for you to pay attention to your money. You need to know how much money you have, how much money you make, how much money you're getting in, how much you're taking out, how much, like everything. It's important, because if you're not paying attention to that and you don't know, money just comes, it surprises you, then it disappears as quickly as it comes, and this, that, and the other. It's hard for you to track it because you're not paying attention to what's coming in. It goes, you don't know where it has gone. And then have you ever, like, this is something that I used to struggle with a lot, where I would receive, especially when it's money I haven't planned for, I would receive it, and then the moment I receive it, my mind starts thinking of all the things I could do with that money. So let's say I've received 100,000. In my mind I start thinking, okay, there's that car top for like 30k that I wanted to buy. I'm going to buy that. Then, oh yes, I remember I really wanted to hang out with this person, so I'm going to go now. That lunch is going to cost you like 50k. Then you think, like, then all of a sudden your budget in your mind has reached like 200k and you only have 100k. And it's like, okay, now what do I do? But here's the thing, before that 100k came, how much did you have? And you didn't have all those plans. So when that 100k comes, even if it's unexpected money, first take off the amount that you're going to save. Then you can start making your plan and your budget according to the rest of the money that's left over. Because let me tell you, the people that have made it in this life, there are people who have saved 10,000 shillings every day diligently and have managed to make it to a point of success. And there are people who earn 500k every day or 1 million shillings every day, and after a certain amount of time they are struggling and they are begging and they are looking for money, because that principle of saving is the most important thing. And then when you save, you start to think of other ways you can generate income. So it goes back to the first thing of having more than one income stream. When you think of something that you want to do, when you think of, oh, I wish, you know how you say things like, have you ever thought about, I wish there was an app that could do what? You be the one to create it. If you had money in your savings, you would be able to create it. You would pick that money and you would pay an app developer, you would sit, you would work on it, and you'd be able to create that app, and you would have more money coming in for you. So when you save, it opens your mind to the possibilities, and you're no longer wishful thinking where you're saying, oh, if only there was a thing that does this, oh, I wish there was this invention, oh, you would be the one to create all those inventions. But it's hard for you to actually be the person to do those things if you don't have the money to start with. So that's where your savings come in, because then whenever you have an investment idea, whenever you have a business idea, whenever you have something, you can pick from your savings and use that money for investment. And you can use the money from your savings for investment because you're going to get money back. But also, if you're starting a business venture, I don't think that you should start a business venture that's going to cause you to take all the money out of your savings. You should be able to take some, because you have to consider the possibility that that business venture might not work out. So if it doesn't work out, if it takes a long time to work out, now your net worth has reduced because your savings are completely depleted, and then this business venture which you were so sure would work out hasn't worked out. So it's important that as you think of saving for investment and as you plan on making investments, don't also completely deplete your savings so that you can start a new investment. So it's important that you have enough, and the more you have, trust me, the more money you have in your savings, the more your mind opens up to the possibilities around you. The more you take in this knowledge, the more your mind opens up to the possibilities around you. Suddenly you start seeing everything as an opportunity. You look around and you're like, oh my God, this needs to be fixed. Why don't I be the one to fix it? And you fix it. It's really like, it's that simple. Saving, I don't know how to explain it, but saving is the most important thing. And then you mind your money. You need to know how much money you're receiving, how much money you're losing, where all your money is going, things like that. It's important, because if you don't know where your money is going, then it becomes harder for you to manage it. And if you're not managing your money well, then you're not building that good financial discipline, which we all need. So there's an app I have on my phone called Wally, which someone recommended to me. But there's also another app called Spending. Those are two apps that I use. an app where you receive money and you just jot it down. You say, I've received, like, every money counts, guys. Today I've received 10k. Like, I'll write, received 10k today. I've received 50k. I've received 100k. I've received 1,000,000. I've received 5k. Like, note down every single thing. Then you say, I spent 2,000 on airtime. I gave someone 1,000 shillings. I bought, salt for 1,000. I bought sugar for 4,500. I bought, this thing for this amount of money. You need to know how much money you're making and how much is going out. And the most important thing about that is to do it for money that's unexpected, because I realized for me where the gap was with unexpected money. Because it's easy, like when I was working and I was earning a salary, I knew that I'm going to receive this amount of money every month, so that was easy. So it was easy for me to have a budget around that. But every time someone gave me money, literally it would disappear as quickly as it came, and I would not even remember where it went. Like, have you ever had that where you receive money and you sit and you're like, but I had 50k this morning, where did it go? And then you sit, then you try to calculate, and you can only account for like 25k of that money, and you're like, I swear it was 50k, it was a brown note, I even saw a gorilla. How? Maybe they gave me 25k. And like, you're so confused and you don't understand what's going on, and you just don't even know what's happening. Like, you just don't understand. So saving and investment aren't really one thing. You cannot throw all your savings in an investment in one go. Yes, they're different. There is saving and then there is investing. And when you are investing, I think, in my opinion, I don't think that it's wise to take out all your savings to put into one investment, because in every investment that every investment that you venture into, there is an element of risk. Even if you've sat down and you've done risk analysis and you've done this, that, and the other, there's always that slight chance. So you don't want to have put your whole life on the line, for this one thing, and then that thing fails and that thing falls apart. So it's important for you to build that muscle of saving, because then eventually you get to a point where someone like Tyler Perry, he just built an incredible production studio, and it's huge. It's on about 100 acres. Do you think that he sweated? He didn't sweat. He had money in his savings. So he had that dream and he put the money there, and he went and he picked out that money when he was ready, when he felt like the time was right, and he was able to save that money. He still has money in his savings. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I'm pretty sure of that, because that, like, remove all your money and put it into a venture is like difficult. But because he's built that muscle of saving for a long time, because to build something of 100 acres takes a lot of money, so that means you have to have a lot of money in your savings. So that means that you have to be building that culture. So it's much easier for you to get into ventures quicker and easier if you build that culture of saving on everything you receive. If you meet a friend and your friend is like, oh, here, have some money, and by the way, let me tell you, learn to receive. Don't take it as an offense when someone gives you money. There's a book I listened to called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. You should listen to it. And there's a wealth file that says rich people are good at receiving. Receive compliments, receive money, learn to receive. If someone gives you 1,000 shillings, take it. That's what they can afford to give you, or that's what they wanted to give you. It's 1,000 shillings more than you had. Don't despise money, ever. Me, everyone knows me, I don't refuse anything. Money, I can never. If someone gives me 1k, I receive it with a smile. I'm like, thank you. That you would think of me to be worthy of your money. Really, I'm a money magnet. 500 shillings, I receive. 100k, I receive. Like, all manner of money, I receive it. Like, I'm talking about money when someone gifts you. I'm not saying for work. Of course, no one is going to approach me for work and offer me 1,000 shillings and I allow. Okay? But learn to receive, because it's a good habit to have. And of course, still when you receive, you put into practice those things that you're learning. So for me, the income thing that I do, how I spend my money, I use 10% for tithe, because I'm a Christian and I tithe. It's a biblical principle, which I think is important. Then I save 20%. So whether it's money that I've received from a client that I had expected, whether it's the post-COVID plan. Okay, so I'm getting a bit distracted by your questions. Please keep sending them and sharing your comments. But I'm going to just sort of finish, and then I'll come back and look through your comments and your questions and respond to those. Is that okay? So I've lost my chain of thought. What was I saying? I was saying that my financial plan. So 20% goes into savings. So whether it's money that I've expected, that I'm receiving from a client, whether it is money that someone just gives me, like I meet an auntie and they're like, oh, how are you? Here you go, kakazi, and then they hand me a 50k, I save 20%. Whether it is like whatever it is, like my plan for me is to build my savings as much as I possibly can. So whatever amount of money it is I receive, because here's the thing about expected money, you weren't expecting it anyway, so you didn't have a budget around it before. So first save what you're saving, then you can make a budget on how you want to spend that money. It's the best thing that you could do for yourself. And then money that's expected, you probably already have a budget for it anyway, so include 20% savings in your budget, and that 20% should go off before your money, before you start to spend. Because it's important for you to really know where your money is going and to have all of that. And if you don't make a plan for your money will make a plan for you. Like, you will be walking by this shop, you see a nice pair of shoes, you will buy. Then you'll be sitting in your car, then someone calls you, they're like, yo, come, there's a party here. Then you go, then you have to first go, you have to buy some drinks, then you have to go, then you have to do what, as in, before you know it, the money is finished. So it's important for you to have money in your savings first. So the first thing that you should do before you think of spending is put money aside for saving, whether it's unexpected money or expected money. You can possibly save more than that. 20% is my preferred amount, but I think that everyone should have that should be your minimum, 20%. If you want to save 30% of your income, save 30% of your income. There was a time when I was working when I was in Canada, and I was working, and my dad made me save 50% of my income. I'm not even joking. Like, I received money and he's like, open an account and put 50% aside, and I was like, but the truth is, I wasn't doing anything at that time. I was 19. I was living in a house, rent was being paid for, I wasn't buying groceries, I wasn't buying anything. Like, literally all the things that I was spending on were if I wanted to buy shoes, if I wanted to buy clothes, if I wanted whatever I wanted to buy for me, or if I want to buy gifts for other people. Like, I didn't have actual responsibilities. So at that point in my life, I could afford 50%. Now it's a little different because I live in this house with my dad, but I like to contribute to the home as well. So, I'll buy groceries, I'll buy yaka and things like that. Like, I can't be asking him for everything or whatever. So I do have responsibilities and other things, and I have businesses and this, that, and the other. So 20% for me at this moment is a reasonable amount, but I think that your minimum should be 20%. If you can afford to save more than 50%, more than 20%, do it. If you're able to save 60% of your income, save it. But 20% should be your minimum. I think that that's important. So those are the first three things that I've spoken about. It's important to have more than one income stream. Saving is important, and mind your money. If you aim at nothing, you hit it every single time. So at least have an aim, have a goal, have a plan in your mind, and know, okay, every time I get money, this is the amount. Have some sort of, have a target for your money. Like, plan and say, this year I want to have this amount of money in my savings. This year I want to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, then it's easy for these things to pass you by. But if you have a plan, every time you receive money, you're thinking, oh, this 20,000 is contributing towards my plan of having saved 10 million by the end of this year. Oh, this 50k is contributing to that. And then also it pushes you to work more, or to work harder, or something of that sort, so that you find more ways, more creative ways, more avenues in which you can bring more money for yourself. So you're earning more, you're able to spend on a few more things that you'd like to spend on, you're able to send more, and that kind of thing. It's important to get an account for turning up. I'm coming to that. So there's 20%. The thing that I want to start doing, there's a conference I attended earlier this year where someone talked about this thing that they do, which I want to do. I like to travel. Sister Vaya travel. We'll talk about travel. So they save 5% of all their income towards travel, so that whenever you want to travel, you don't have to save now for 6 months for a trip or whatever. You can actually look at your savings account and say, oh, this is how much I've managed to save. So if it's 500k, you know that, okay, I can probably just take a road trip to Western Uganda for a day and come back, or that kind of thing. If you have 2 million in your savings, you know that you can maybe take a flight to how much is a flight to Nairobi? But anyway, you get the point. Is that you can even have a certain amount that goes towards travel. So that's something. I haven't started that yet, but I'm going to start doing that. 5% of my income that I receive will go towards travel. So these are all separate accounts. There's an account for, well, tithe goes to the church, then the 20% I have a savings account, then 5% I'll open a separate account for me. That I would want to open separate accounts so that I don't get confused by all of it, because then you have all this money, you have like 1 million on this account, but you had put some for saving, then some for travel, then some for this, and then it becomes confusing. So if you're able to have different accounts for all those things, do that. So I'm going to start putting 5% towards travel, so that whenever I feel like I want to travel, it's a possibility, like I'm able to do it. Like I don't have to break my back doing it. I don't have to rob a bank. Like, just be easy, you know what I mean? So that's a good idea. When is your next route? Oh wait, I said I wasn't going to read questions until I'm done. I'm going to respond to your questions, just hold on. So that's 5% for toward travel. And then another thing that is good to do, 10%, you can put 10% towards, it's called like a give account, right? Or it would be 5% actually for me, because 5 is going towards travel. So a giving account is money that you have on standby to just give to people. So when someone has a wedding and they're asking you to contribute, you pick money from your giving account, so that you're not spending, so that you're not in a position where you have to sacrifice like now your monthly data, so that you can contribute towards your friend's wedding. Like, you are already prepared. There is power in preparation. So giving account is now where you remove money to give towards certain causes. If there is like a charity you want to give towards, you don't have to stress yourself, you don't have to suffer, you're not in a position where you're making like tough calls, or it's like, okay, I have to choose between this and this. You don't have to sacrifice to be able to be generous. So you give. So that's 5% aside for you giving. So you'll be able to do, if someone has a baby shower and we're all contributing 50k, you have money in your giving account that you can pick from and contribute towards that. If there is a car wash and people are contributing towards someone's treatment or whatever, you know that, okay, today I can really afford, and be honest with yourself. If today you can only afford 10,000, give 10,000. The truth is, people may say things, people may laugh at you, people may whatever, but you in your mind, you know what you're up to and you know what you're doing. Don't be that person that's doing things for sure. You want to be seen as this big guy with money, and so you give 100,000 and then you're walking to work the whole week, the whole month, because you can't afford fuel for your car because you gave 100,000. Do you understand? Like, be true to yourself. If in your giving account this month all you have is 10,000, give it. Here's the thing: as you exercise these disciplines and as you continue to do these things, there will be a point in your life where it's so much easier. You graduate from giving 10 to giving 20 to giving 50 to giving 100 to giving 1,000,000. Yeah. So prepare for it in your mind. You know that before the money comes, you've planned for it. So you know that every month you put aside this amount of money. So if this month someone comes to you and they tell you, I'm getting married and I'd like you to contribute, you look at your account and you're like, hey, listen, I'm only able to contribute 30,000 shillings. If the person wants to take it, they can take it. If they don't want to take it, then you still have your 30k. So when you add more money, then you have more than that 30k. Do you understand? Like, plan for your money and be prepared for it. Have a plan in mind. So there is that. You can put 5% towards giving. Then the rest of the 60% would be on your expenses. So that's where you have the money for your lunches and brunches. Money to go out, money for more important things first, groceries and toiletries, and looking after the home, money to buy yourself clothes, money for rent, money for whatever, 60%. So you have your 10%, your 20% savings, 5% maybe for travel. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that. I know there are people that don't necessarily have a travel budget, so for them 10% is for giving. It's different for everyone, but it's important for you to have structures for where your money is going, and it's better to have them in percentages, because the money that you receive fluctuates from time to time. So if you plan and you say that every month I'm going to save 50,000, then based on maybe the budget, based on your monthly salary of like 2 million shillings, then when someone gives you 100k, it becomes difficult, because then you have to save 50k, and then yet you might have so many other things that you want to do with that money. So percentages makes it easier to work with, because you're able to control both expected and unexpected income. So even when you receive money that you haven't planned for, you know that, okay, I've received 100k, let me put 20k aside and then keep it moving with the rest of the money. Does that make sense? Okay. Then the other thing would be environment. Surround yourself with people that are on the same mission as you, people that want to make money as well, people that are making money. Like, put yourself in rich environments every once in a while, something that told me to buy your takes your 60%. Someone told me that it's important. I think, and I read it over in which book. I've read so many financial books, guys. Sometimes I lose track. But someone said that it's important to put yourself in rich environments. So every once in a while, you need to take yourself to an expensive restaurant. Go to Serena, sit, look at rich people, observe them, see the things they do. Go to Serena, treat yourself, eat, so that you know the kind of things that rich people do, so that you know that you actually have the ability, the capability to be in a rich environment, because then that pushes you to work for it even more, because you're like, oh wow, this is nice, and then you're like, yeah, I really want this to become a life, and then you start to do it more. So environment, like the environment that you surround yourself with, is important. But I'm not saying do it all the time, because if you can't afford it, if you can't afford to eat at Serena every day, don't do that also. But every once in a while, go there, eat, enjoy yourself, without like just be around rich people and see the things that they do, and you're like, wow, okay, this is cool. Surround yourself with people, make sure that friends you have are people that save, that are putting into practice the same principles. Because if you have friends who receive money, and every time they receive money they spend money, today they're like, yo man, I received 100k, so my budget for the night is 100k, let's go party and whatever. I mean, the chances are that even you, the next time you get 100k, you're going to return the favor, call your friend and be like, yo man, I have 100k, let's go out. You should surround yourself with people who will say, you have received 100k today, I'm going to save 20%, I'm going to say, like, I have 60k to spend. Do you understand? Like, if they really want to spend a lot of money, they can spend 60k because they've received 100,000. Like, surround yourself with people that are going to encourage that for you, because also it becomes difficult in situations where for you're working towards saving this, that and the other, and then your friends, for them all they do is spending, because with time you start to notice the gap, and then it's uncomfortable. Trust me guys, it really is. And one of you is bound to influence the other. Hopefully you will be influencing them, but if you're one and the friends are 5, chances are high that they will influence you. Do you understand? And then money attracts money. If you're surrounded by people who are constantly making money, who are constantly saving money, who are constantly focused on how can I get money, I need to do this, I need to do that, like, you feel left out. You'll be like, man, do I have a problem? Is it juju? What's happening? And then with time you find yourself, you find that you've forced yourself into a place where you're like, man, I have to make money. I can't be there. I'm the only one who hasn't made money this week. Like, it can't be me. Like, how does that happen? Do you understand? So the environment that you surround yourself with, attend conferences. You guys, as young people, there are so many of us who would gladly pay 100,000 to go for blankets and wine, but let someone tell you to pay 50k to go for a conference, a breakfast conference, 2 hours. You spend 50k to go and learn about finance, and you're like, 50k, all that money for what? I don't have that money. Guys, invest in yourselves. If you can invest in your entertainment, why can't you invest in your intellectual capacity as well? Invest in your intellectual capital. I'm even troubling because it's too much. Invest in yourself. You are valuable and you are worth it. Invest in yourself, not just in entertainment, but in your intellectual being as well. Like, it also deserves to be fed. Not everyday party, not everyday this, that and the other. Guys, Instagram is warning me that I have 1 minute remaining, so I'm going to switch off and come back as I wrap this up. Yeah, is that cool? Oh, but then there are questions here. I won't be able to see them again. Let's see. Yeah, I've seen that. Someone was asking about Canada. Yes, I'm a Canadian resident, but I don't like Bulaya. I like Uganda, and I think there's so much potential in this country. So I live here and I'm happy. These different percentage breakdowns, does that necessitate me to have different bank accounts for different items? I think that's the easiest way to do it, because then you know that this particular account is for savings, this particular account is for the money that I am able to spend. So I know that whatever is on this account is money for spending, then this is for saving. So when I have an investment, this is the account I go to. Because if it's all on one account, unless you know that you are 100% disciplined and you'll be able to know that this money is for this and this money is for this, I wouldn't advise you do it. And then you could be like me, who has money goes off my account every month because I have Apple Music taking money. There are so many apps that are paid for on my phone that take money. So I need to have it tied to specifically my spending account, because otherwise if it's tied to my saving to one account that has generally all the money, it becomes harder to track. So I think it's important to have the money. But you see, someone said it depends on your discipline. It really does depend on your discipline, but I think it would be easier to have it separated. So time is up, so I'm going to log out. I'm going to just end this live and do another one and wind up. Let me just wind this chat up. Yeah.